The notion of giant spiders roaming the earth has long captured the human imagination. From the ancient myths and legends of various cultures to modern-day sightings and reports, these enormous arachnids have become a fascinating topic of both fear and curiosity. This video delves into the history, sightings, and scientific perspectives surrounding the phenomenon of giant spiders, exploring whether these creatures are merely the stuff of legend or if there is a tangible basis for their existence. Spiders have played significant roles in myths and folklore across different cultures. In Greek mythology, Arachne was transformed into a spider by the goddess Athena, giving birth to the term arachnid. In African folklore, the Anansi tales depict a trickster spider who is a symbol of wisdom and storytelling. Similarly, Native American stories often feature spiders as creators and teachers. While these stories generally depict spiders of normal size, they set the stage for the human fascination with these creatures. In various cultures, tales of giant spiders have emerged. The job of Fofi is one such example from African folklore. According to local legends, these spiders are said to be the size of small dogs, weaving webs that can trap even large animals. While these stories are often dismissed as mere folklore, they continue to intrigue both locals and outsiders alike. The job of Fofi is deeply embedded in the oral traditions of the Baka people, indigenous to the Congo Basin. Stories of these gargantuan arachnids have been passed down through generations, often warning of their venomous bite and predatory nature. According to legend, the job of Fofi constructs large, circular webs between trees and hunts in a manner similar to tarantulas, ambushing prey that comes too close. The tales are not limited to the Baka. Other tribes in the region, such as the Ashanti and Bakassi, have their own versions of the job of Fofi. These narratives often describe encounters with spiders ranging from 3 to 6 feet in leg span, capable of taking down small mammals, birds, and even people. The oldest documented sighting is from 1890. An English missionary named Arthur John Symes was en route to a village while traveling in the dense Ugandan forests when some of his men got stuck in a massive web. As he started to cut them loose, he discovered the webs were unusually strong, like nothing he'd experienced before. Suddenly, 2 large spiders appeared from the underbrush and bit his men. Arthur was able to shoot one with his pistol, but was also bit. Although he and his men ultimately escaped, they died shortly after from the swollen bites. In 1938, R.K. Lloyd and Marguerite Lloyd were driving in the Belgian Congo when they noticed something on the ground. William Gibbons, a British cryptozoologist, wrote, "I first became aware of a giant ground-dwelling spider through Miss Margaret Lloyd, formerly of Rhodesia and now living in England. Her parents, Reginald and Marguerite Lloyd, were exploring the interior of the old Belgian Congo in 1938 when they spotted something crossing the jungle track ahead of them. At first, they took the object to be a large jungle cat or a monkey on all fours. When they stopped their vehicle to allow the animal to pass, they were thunderstruck to see that it was a very large brown spider, similar in its appearance to a tarantula, with a leg span of at least 4 or 5 feet. Mr. Lloyd trembled so much with excitement that he was unable to retrieve his camera in time to take a snap, and Mrs. Lloyd was so distraught that she wanted to return home immediately." In November 2003, during an expedition to Cameroon seeking a mysterious long-necked water beast called the Mokele-Mbembe, cryptozoological explorer Bill Gibbons mentioned to the Baka Pygmies the Lloyd sighting, originally recounted to him by their daughter Margaret. They were familiar with such creatures and provided him with additional information. The Baka claimed that these colossal spiders were once quite common in this area but are rarer now due to modern deforestation, although one was reputedly sighted by them as recently as June 2003. They used to construct hut-like lairs from leaves near to the pygmies' villages, and by spinning mighty webs between adjacent trees, with trip lines running across game trails, they ensnared and devoured victims as sizable as Diker. Moreover, They were said by the Baka to be powerful and venomous enough to kill humans too, but are themselves killed by the pygmies if encountered by them. The Jaba Fofi remains one of the more enigmatic and controversial subjects within the realm of cryptozoology. While mainstream science dismisses the likelihood of such a creature's existence, the persistent stories and reported encounters keep the legend thriving. Whether the Jaba Fofi is a misidentified known species, an undiscovered giant arachnid, or purely a product of myth, its tale underscores the enduring human fascination with the unknown. The dense rainforests of Africa, still largely unexplored, may yet hold secrets that challenge our understanding of the natural world. But these giant spiders have not just been seen in Africa, but also there have been sightings in other parts of the world. In the dense, untamed rainforests of Papua New Guinea, where the canopy is thick and the ground teems with life, whispers of an enigmatic creature have been passed down through generations. This creature, known locally as the giant spider or megaract, is more than just a figment of local folklore. It's a legend that continues to capture the imagination of both locals and adventurers from around the globe. The legend of the giant spider in Papua New Guinea is deeply rooted in the oral traditions of the indigenous peoples. Stories of colossal arachnids have been told for centuries, often serving as cautionary tales for children to stay close to their families and avoid wandering into the forest alone. These tales describe a spider so enormous that it can ensnare small animals and even humans in its web, a fearsome predator lurking in the shadows. Descriptions of the giant spider vary, but common elements include a leg span reaching up to 3 feet, fangs capable of delivering a venomous bite, and a body covered in thick, dark hair. The most intriguing aspect of these stories is the consistency in the details provided by different witnesses, despite the vast distances separating them. This consistency has lent a degree of credibility to the legend, fueling further interest and investigation. The Kokoda Track is a straight, single-file foot trail running 60 miles through unforgiving terrain across the Owen Stanley mountain range of Papua New Guinea. During World War II, battles between Australian and Japanese forces, known as the Kokoda Track Campaign, happened from July 1942 to January 1943 in Papua New Guinea. In 2001, Australian cryptozoologists Peter and Debbie Hines revealed that it was also here, while serving as a soldier in the Australian Army, that the father of one of Debbie's friends had a brief but terrifying encounter with a giant spider. Debbie's friend recounted what her father saw. One day, he had to take himself off into the scrub in answer to a call of nature. While thus engaged, he noticed he was crouched down next to a very large cobweb, not the classic fishing net sort, but the fine, snow-white cottony stuff that spread all over the ground and tree trunk. His eye followed it one way and then the other. Seems it was very extensive, like 10 to 15 feet either way. Then he noticed the spider itself, only a foot or so away from his face. The body, he described as the size of a small dog or puppy. It was colored jet black. The legs were thick and hairy, but not as long as the classic dinner plate tarantula-type spider that owes its size to the spread of its legs. This thing had more body bulk than spread. Needless to say, he backed out of there very slowly and carefully. This was not the only sighting during World War II. A person named Craig recounted his grandfather's sighting on Coast to Coast AM, which is a well-known American paranormal radio show. Craig said while his grandfather was serving in New Guinea during World War II, he encountered a giant spider. The spider was hanging in a web it had made between 2 trees. The sight of a giant spider terrified him so much that he went into attack mode and hacked the spider to death with a machete. Craig's grandfather said the spider measured around 3 feet from tip to tip, but also said this spider was not hairy and was quite skinny and green in color. This spider was encountered near Port Moresby, the capital of Papua New Guinea. The legend of the giant spider in Papua New Guinea remains one of the most fascinating and enduring tales of cryptozoology. While the existence of such a creature is highly doubtful from a scientific perspective, the stories continue to captivate the imagination, reflecting humanity's enduring fascination with the unknown. Whether as a symbol of fear, a guardian of the forest, or simply a mystery waiting to be solved, the giant spider of Papua New Guinea will continue to weave its web in the fabric of local lore and global curiosity. Reports of these giant spiders have also been recorded in the rainforests of Venezuela and South America. In the village of San Rafael de Manuar, villagers have spoken about a giant spider that dwells in the rainforest. There has been many sightings of this giant spider, and one villager said when he was a child, he had a terrifying experience with a giant spider. While he was outside playing, he heard a noise coming from the forest. To him, it sounded like an animal that was not small, so he backed off slowly, while looking to see what animal it could be. The village has a few dogs, and one dog was also intrigued by the noise coming from the forest. As the dog got closer to where the noise was coming from, suddenly a giant spider appeared and grabbed the dog and dragged the dog into the forest. He said the spider was huge, and when it reared up, it was the size of a human. He said later, "I know what I saw. I know the local fauna very well and would not mistake something familiar, such as a monkey or a sloth on the ground for a giant spider." Another sighting was recounted by another villager. "It was late morning, and I was walking through the forest. Everything was damp because the night before, we had a very bad storm. I was on my way to another village to get supplies when something caught my eye. When I looked up to the left, I saw two giant spiders. They were nesting in a giant web, connected by two trees. At first, I froze. I could not move, but then I came to my senses and ran. I ran out of that forest, and to this day, have never returned." While there is no concrete scientific evidence to support the existence of giant spiders in Venezuela, the stories and sightings persist. Whether these accounts are based on misidentifications, undiscovered species, or pure imagination, they continue to intrigue and inspire those fascinated by the unknown. The dense rainforests of Venezuela remain a place of mystery, where the boundaries between myth and reality often blur, leaving room for the possibility that giant spiders may indeed be lurking in the shadows. One of the most startling giant spider reports comes from Leesville in Louisiana, USA. William Sladen and his family witnessed a giant spider at night while they were walking to church. William was with his wife and 3 grandsons at the time, and they were all walking along the highway. It was a cool, clear night as they walked along the dirt path by the road. Suddenly, in front of them, they saw a giant hairy spider. Later, William said it was the size of a washtub. It emerged from a ditch just ahead of them and crossed the road before disappearing into some brush on the other side. This scared the family so much, never again did they walk that path. There was another sighting, but this time in England. England is not known for big spiders, but on the 11th of February, 2013, Adam Bird from Nottingham, England, shared the following account. Sheila, who was a local librarian, was driving along Nottingham's Stone Bridge Road. She had made this journey many times and knew the area like the back of her hand. On one side of the road was an old farm, and on the other was a disused factory that had been empty for a few years now. It was a clear night, with no other cars on the road. Suddenly, in the headlights, something caught her eye. At first, she thought it was a small animal, like a cat, but to her horror, it was a huge spider. She stopped the car and watched in horror, not believing what she was seeing. She said, including the legs, it was about 2 feet long. The spider crossed the road and through a fence that led to the factory. As soon as she lost sight of the spider, she quickly drove away. This terrifying encounter with the giant spider has stayed with her ever since. giant spiders have long captured the human imagination, from ancient myths to modern horror films. These colossal arachnids, often depicted as terrifying creatures lurking in dark corners or weaving massive webs, have become a staple of popular culture. However, the question remains: is there any truth behind the tales of giant spiders, or are they purely products of our collective imagination? Spiders belong to the class Arachnida and are characterized by their 8 legs and fanged chelicerae, which inject venom. The largest known spider, the Goliath bird-eater, has a leg span of up to 11 inches and can weigh over 6 ounces. While these dimensions are impressive, they are far from the gargantuan sizes depicted in fiction. From a biological standpoint, there are several reasons why spiders cannot grow to enormous sizes. Firstly, spiders have an exoskeleton, which limits their size. As spiders grow, they must molt, shedding their exoskeleton and forming a new, larger one. The logistics of molting become increasingly complex and impractical as the spider size increases. Furthermore, spiders rely on a passive respiratory system called book lungs. This system is efficient for small creatures, but would not suffice for a significantly larger organism. The larger the spider, the more oxygen it would require, and the current respiratory system simply could not support a giant arachnid. The skeptical view of giant spiders is grounded in scientific understanding and rational analysis. While spiders can reach impressive sizes within the limits of their biology, the idea of enormous monstrous arachnids remains firmly in the realm of fiction. Misidentification, cultural myths, and psychological factors contribute to the enduring fascination with giant spiders, but these explanations underscore the importance of skepticism and scientific inquiry. In appreciating the natural world, it is crucial to separate fact from fiction. Spiders, in their true form, are fascinating and complex creatures that play a vital role in ecosystems. By understanding their biology and dispelling myths, we can foster a greater appreciation for these remarkable arachnids without succumbing to irrational fears of giant lurking predators. The concept of giant spiders has long intrigued scientists and enthusiasts alike. While the idea is mostly confined to the realms of myth and fiction, it raises interesting questions about the biological and environmental factors that could theoretically allow for the existence of enormous arachnids. Here we explore the scientific reasons and scenarios that could potentially support the development of giant spiders. Evolutionary adaptation. Evolution is driven by natural selection, where organisms adapt to their environments over generations. If a particular environment favored larger spiders, it is conceivable that evolutionary pressures could lead to an increase in spider size. For instance, in an environment with an abundance of large prey and minimal predation, larger spiders might have an advantage in capturing and subduing their food sources. Atmospheric oxygen levels. Historically, the Earth's atmosphere has experienced fluctuations in oxygen levels. During the Carboniferous period, around 300 million years ago, atmospheric oxygen levels were significantly higher than today, reaching up to 35% compared to the current 21%. This period saw the existence of giant arthropods, such as the millipede-like Arthropleura and the dragonfly-like Meganeura, which had wingspans of over 2 feet. Higher oxygen levels allow for more efficient respiratory systems, potentially enabling the existence of larger arthropods, including spiders. Structural adaptations. For a spider to grow to a giant size, significant structural adaptations would be necessary. The exoskeleton, which provides support and protection, would need to be strong yet flexible enough to support a larger body. Advances in biomaterial science have shown that biological materials can be incredibly strong and lightweight. If a spider's exoskeleton could evolve to incorporate such materials, it might support a larger body size. Efficient respiratory systems. Current spiders use a passive respiratory system called book lungs, which limit their size. However, If spiders evolved a more efficient respiratory system, similar to the tracheal system in insects, they could potentially support larger body sizes. The tracheal system delivers oxygen directly to tissues via a network of tubes, allowing for greater metabolic rates and larger body sizes. Genetic mutations. Genetic mutations and selective breeding could also play a role in producing larger spiders. While selective breeding is more commonly associated with domesticated animals, it is theoretically possible that given the right conditions, certain mutations could be favored that lead to an increase in spider size. Over many generations, these changes could accumulate, resulting in significantly larger spiders. Ecological niches. Ecological niches play a crucial role in the development and evolution of species. In isolated ecosystems, such as islands or secluded environments, organisms often evolve unique characteristics. This phenomenon, known as island gigantism, has been observed in various species, including the Komodo dragon and the coconut crab. If spiders were to inhabit an isolated environment with abundant resources and minimal competition, it is conceivable that they could evolve to larger sizes. Advances in biotechnology. Looking forward, advances in biotechnology and genetic engineering could potentially create larger spiders. Scientists are already experimenting with gene editing techniques to alter the genetics of various organisms. While this is currently within the realm of speculation, it raises the possibility that in the future, humans could engineer spiders to grow to larger sizes for research or other purposes. While the current scientific consensus holds that giant spiders, as depicted in myths and fiction, are highly unlikely, the exploration of theoretical scenarios offers intriguing insights into the potential for larger arachnids. Factors such as evolutionary pressures, atmospheric conditions, structural adaptations, respiratory efficiency, genetic mutations, ecological niches, and advancements in biotechnology all presents possible pathways for the development of larger spiders. However, these scenarios remain speculative and face significant biological and environmental constraints. The balance between imagination and scientific plausibility reminds us of the complexities of evolution and adaptation. While giant spiders might not roam the Earth today, the scientific exploration of their potential existence enriches our understanding of the natural world and the limits of biological possibility. Thank you for watching. If you like the video, please remember to like and subscribe.